Good evening and welcome to another exciting and riveting episode of Movie NP Halloween Edition, the vlog where we review movies and analyze them for life hacks and self help tips. As promised, tonight's review and analysis is the classic from 1972, The Night Stalker. Directed by John Moxey, written by Richard Matheson, Jeffrey Rice, and Max Hodge, and stars Darren McGavin, perhaps better known as Ralphie's dad in A Christmas Story. McGavin stars as Carl Kolchak, a newspaper reporter with unconventional methods who always seems at odds with his employer and authorities. You know, the type Hans Gruber would have called a cowboy. The film's 1 hour, 14 minutes long, not rated, and carries an IMDb rating of 7.4 out of 10. It's available on DVD and Blu ray from Amazon.com. Interestingly enough, it's produced by Dan Curtis, better known as the creator of Dark Shadows. The film took only 12 days to film, and although it was released in the US as a made for TV movie, the overwhelming success led the producers to release it in theaters in the UK and the European markets. But the main reason I'm featuring this movie tonight is because it will be featured this Saturday night on Svengoolie. Sven can be found on multiple streaming services. In my case, I watch him on MeTv through the Friendly TV app. Sven, big fan over here. Thank you. The film was based on an unpublished novel at the time titled The Kolchak Papers. The plot revolves around a series of murders around and about Las Vegas Strip. All the victims have had their blood drained out of their body. Kolchak quickly comes to suspect that a vampire is on the loose. Kolchak wants to run a story in the newspaper, but his managing editor refuses until he has proof. So Kolchak sets out to find that proof. Soon after, the police are called regarding a man attempting to steal blood from a hospital. The man escapes and is shot multiple times by the police without stopping him, and he outruns a police car and a motorcycle. During his escape, witnesses identify him as a 70-year-old Janos Skorzeny, who just happens to be the suspect in multiple murders years ago, all involving massive loss of blood. Kolchak reports to law enforcement his theory, and of course, they laugh him out of the office. Kolchak's girlfriend encourages him to explore vampire lore, and this confirms to him that Skorzeny is a real vampire hiding out in a safe house somewhere in Vegas. Meanwhile, the cops are called out again and again and fail to capture Skorzeny. This leads them to strike a deal with Kolchak in return for his help and his exclusive rights to the story. With the help of a friend, Kolchak tracks down the lair of Skorzeny and enters to get photos for evidence. What he finds are blood packs stored in a refrigerator, a coffin with soil in it, and a living female victim tied up with an IV that Skorzeny is using as a living blood donor. Unfortunately for Kolchak, he happens to enter the house at night. Come on, folks. It has to be exciting. If he entered during the daytime, it wouldn't be as fun. But I won't ruin the end for you. Find out what happens in the thrilling conclusion Saturday night, September 21st on Svengoolie, 8 p.m., 7 Central. This is a fun classic that resulted in another made for TV movie titled The Night Strangler, which I think has an even more original plot. Then it spun off into a TV show titled Kolchak the Night Stalker, where Kolchak has run ins with all sorts of monsters and supernatural events. Some episodes are quite creepy. You might find it interesting that Chris Carter, the creator of The X-Files, reported that The Night Stalker is a direct inspiration for his creation, The X-Files. As an homage, Darren McGavin starred in an episode of The X-Files titled Travelers. It's featured in Season 5, Episode 15. Carter originally wanted him to reprise his role as Kolchak, but for some reason McGavin didn't want to. So the character was rewritten as a retired FBI agent who is better known as the father of the X-Files. So this 1972 movie is primarily a horror thriller, but there's quite a few self-help takeaways here. Before I get into the specifics, I got to give my disclaimer that the information I'm going to give here is for general information purpose only. It is not intended to treat or diagnose any disease. Please talk to your healthcare provider. Only you and your healthcare provider can determine a diagnosis and treatment modality. So number one takeaway is trust your instincts. Kolchak relentlessly follows his instincts even though others doubt him. A self-help tip here is to trust your gut feelings, especially when others may not see what you see. The Harvard Business Review points out that there is a deep neurological basis for intuition and why it's often called gut feeling. The fact is that some scientists consider the stomach and digestive tract the second brain. This is because there is a vast neural network surrounding the stomach and the intestines. This is why the number one side effect for SSRIs are some stomach upset, particularly when you first start them. You see, kids, there's a lot of serotonin receptors down in your stomach as well as your brain. The medication doesn't know which is which, so it affects all of them when you first start taking them. This can lead to some GI upset, such as loose stool and just general nausea. The good news is that goes away usually within the first week, and SSRIs have been shown to be quite effective with depression and anxiety. In fact, it is recommended as the number one treatment. Um, in a world filled with logic and technology, we often push away our gut feelings. The good news is if we choose to use it, it only grows stronger over time. This reminds me of a scene in the movie Zodiac from 2007. The killer is picking up hitchhikers to kill them, and he points out that people often ignore their gut feelings in favor of being polite or not wanting to be embarrassed, and they get into the car. If they would have listened to their guts, they would have never become victims. Another life hack here is, well, I could tell you, in my time, I've had quite a few standardized tests. Um, if you don't immediately know the answer, go with your best guess, go with your gut feeling. Statistics show that this is often the correct answer. I also get through these tests as quickly as possible and choose the first answer I see that looks right. And never go back to changing an answer to a question once you've moved on. The second is persistence in the face of doubt. Kolchak faces opposition from his supervisors and law enforcement, but continues his investigation in a series of mysterious murders. This teaches the importance of persistence and resilience, even when external forces try to dissuade you. Look, folks, you know my stance on persistence. I feel it's the number one predictor of success. And I've thoroughly covered this in my other videos, so if you want to check that out, please do so. Number three, question authority. Kolchak challenges the establishment who are dismissive of his theories about a supernatural killer. This highlights the value of questioning the status quo, especially when it conflicts with what you believe. A great example here is the Milgram experiments. The Milgram experiments were conducted in 1961 at Yale University by social psychologist Stanley Milgram. He conducted these experiments to better understand why the average German citizen went along with the horrors of the Nazi Party, and if the ordinary American would do the same and blindly follow the orders of an authoritative figure. The experiment was simple. Participants were told that the administrator that this was an experiment to study the effects of negative reinforcement in learning. The participants were told that there was a person behind the wall that was the learner, and they were to read off a series of information to them. They then asked the learner to repeat this information. For each answer they got wrong, the participant was ordered by the administrator to shock the learner. And for each subsequent wrong answer, they were ordered to systematically increase the voltage up to the max of 450 volts. The results were shocking, pun intended. The majority of the participants blindly followed the authoritative orders given by the administrator. All participants reached at least 300 volts, while 65% raised it all the way up to the max of 450 volts, all while the learner responded in pain and at times pleaded and begged for the experiment to stop. Perhaps even more concerning, I understand a few times the learner acted like he had passed out or was dead, but the participants continued along, following the orders of the administrator. These events can be seen in the 2015 release of The Experimenter. And unfortunately, the experiments have been repeated multiple times with the same results. When they questioned the participants on why they continued even though they didn't want to, their response varied from "I thought the administrator knew what they were doing" to "I didn't feel I had a choice," and some openly admitted that what they did was they shifted their focus of responsibility onto the administrator. In other words, they felt that it was the administrator's fault and not their own of their actions. This paints a dark picture of human psychology, but my point is that we are all responsible for our own actions, and just following orders is never a defense. And as they say in the X Files, question everything. Number four is adaptability. Kolchak had to adapt to changing circumstances and new discoveries. In life, adaptability is a critical skill to navigate unexpected situations and find solutions. A paraphrase here of Charles Darwin's theory states, "It is not the strongest of the species that survive or the smartest, it's the most adaptable. Change is inevitable. Without change, just like the vampire, there is death. Get comfortable with change. Be an early adopter. The more you resist change, the harder life will be. Jump into change like you're jumping into a swimming pool on a 90-degree day. Think about a tree in a storm. The more rigid the tree, it snaps and dies. The more flexible, it survives the storm." And here's a world example. I once worked with a guy in technology industry that found a new job about every 9 months. Each time he would tell the new employer that he was making about 10 to 20% more than what he actually was. Within a short couple years, the guy was making well over $100,000 for basically the same work. Smart guy. He certainly wasn't afraid to change. And by the way, he didn't even have a college degree at the time. Another great example here is if you're interested in nursing or medicine, or if you work in the field, an agency position is a great opportunity to make more money. The reason is that agencies pay more than what they do at the hospital rate. Agencies often bring in staff when there's call-offs, when there's shortages, pandemics, all sorts of reasons. But a lot of people don't like to work for agencies because often it's like being dropped in behind enemy lines. They don't give you much of an orientation, if they give you any orientation at all, and it requires you to go to different floors and different hospitals, sometimes multiple days a week. Most people are not comfortable with this. However, the people that are comfortable with change have a huge advantage over the average person and can make far more money. In addition, there's great opportunity to learn new skills and opportunities that otherwise you may have never had the opportunity to do so. And lastly, stay calm under pressure. Kolchak encourages terrifying situations, yet he manages to stay composed and focused on his goals. Learning to maintain calm under stressful situations can be a powerful asset in handling life's challenges. You can train yourself to stay calm under pressure. One way is through self-hypnosis technique. Here's how you do it. Find yourself a comfortable chair, lay down, and get into some rhythmic breathing. I like breathing in through the nose at the count of 4, however long it takes for you to breathe in at the count of 4, and out through your mouth at however long it takes for you to count to 6. It can also help to envision the words relaxed as you breathe in and calm as you breathe out. Once you're significantly relaxed, then you can imagine a light washing over your body, and this brings with it a further sense of safety and relaxation. Once you're relaxed and comfortable with that, you can then project your mind into stressful situations. You want to watch this play out like you're watching it on a video screen or a TV. When you're watching it play out, notice how calm you're remaining in these situations and under pressure. Alternate your thoughts back and forth, jump back and forth between the calming light and the stressful situation. Do this about 4 to 6 times between the soothing light and the stressful situation. In essence, what you're doing is you're desensitizing yourself to stress. Over time, you will find you will be much better able to remain calm in stressful situations when they occur in real life. Well, that's it for today, folks. Please click like and subscribe and share with a friend. Comment below your thoughts and join me next week. Pleasant nightmares, and I hope the bed bugs bite. Oh, and Svengoolie, if you're watching, call me.